Hello and welcome to the final session of Track 1 at this year's Horizon Summit about in-game tech and experiences. This panel is the power of partnerships, SAP and the NHL and their coaching insights app for the iPad. It's powered by SAP, and I'm thrilled to introduce Chris Foster, the Senior Director of Digital Business Development for the NHL, Brant Berglund, Senior Director of Coaching and the General Manager of Applications for the NHL, and Dan Fleetwood, the VP of Global Sponsorships for SAP. Welcome, gentlemen. And before we go any further, just to give everyone here a sense of what this app is that we're going to be talking about for the next half hour, we have a short demo video to play for you.
2019, the SAP NHL Coaching Insights app for iPad was introduced for game day use and made an immediate impact. Based on feedback from all 31 NHL teams' coaching staffs, the latest version of the SAP NHL Coaching Insights app includes new interactive features that help improve decision-making for critical in-game situations and intermission adjustments.
I like that.
Leveraging the power of SAP Business Technology Platform, coaches using the app have access to any game from the last 2 NHL seasons to assist in key in-game decisions. Updated features include the Face-Off Matchup Planner, which provides analytics necessary to make quick on-bench decisions for individual face-off matchups. With the introduction of the NHL's player and puck tracking system in every NHL arena and the league's move to SAP HANA Cloud, the SAP Coaching Insights app puts new in-the-moment metrics and data visualizations, including player speed and distance traveled, at the coach's fingertips.
Hey! That's ridiculous.
Game Pulse displays key segments and momentum swings during each game with configurable stats that allow coaches to view preferred metrics.
Let's go. Get ready here.
Virtual Replay offers a tactical view that displays the puck and players' positions in animated motion graphics, including timeline control, slow motion, and full video controls.
Shot by Point, save, rebound, score! Point!
The SAP NHL Coaching Insights app for iPad, a revolution in virtual coaching assistance.
And that was pretty great. And to start us off, Dan, how did SAP get involved with the NHL in the first place, and take me through the timeline to this app?
Yeah, thanks, Joe, and thanks for having me today. At SAP, we've got a pretty robust sponsorship and partner portfolio. But the objective with our sponsor partners really is to bring to life the power of our technology and our technology platforms through these partners, and really. There's no better example of us delivering on that strategy than the partnership that we've forged with the NHL over the past 7 years. It's truly one of the best that we have, and really, with respect to the journey that we've been on with the NHL, it started where back in 2014, 2015, we looked at them trying to go through the first steps of the digital transformation and take that incredibly rich history that they have of statistics and really kind of make that accessible to the fans around the world. And so we worked with them on that and built a great platform with them that is still being utilized today by fans everywhere, and really gives them the ability to kind of take a look at players from across multiple generations and truly kind of understand how players today match up with players of yesteryear, right? And so it was a great project that we started with them there. And then the other part of them being a great partner is as we've matured, as our solutions mature, as they change, as they grow, we can work with the NHL to bring the latest and greatest to them. And so, no surprise, obviously, that enterprise software, and our journey to the cloud and how we're moving off premise and bringing things into a cloud structure that, we worked with the NHL on some of the things beyond just, their fan engagement. And so it's led us to this whole development of the coaching application. And really trying to take all that power and all that data that has to get crunched in so quick a time, put that in the hands of the players and the coaches on the bench, and Chris and Brant can tell you the story of all the details on it, but it's really been an amazing journey for us, an amazing story for us in terms of having that iPad on the bench of all 31, soon to be 32 teams, across the league, and having them utilize this platform to really help them run their teams better.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, obviously everyone in the audience saw the video with some of the quick bullet points, but I'd love to know a little bit more about what are some of the key features here. What was the problem that the NHL wanted to solve?
Sure. And Joe, thanks again for inviting us and for letting us talk about this exciting product. So the key pain point that we are looking to solve, it really is about the location of the bench. So when you think of an ice hockey bench, if you're a coach, you're standing up, you've got the glass and the crowd behind you, the players in the ice in front of you, and you're really kind of stranded on this island. And so getting access to information, getting access to video, clubs had told the league, that was sort of a problem for them, especially in game. And that means that a lot of their work had to be done during intermissions when there really isn't that much time. So we also had a partnership with Apple where in 2017, we rolled out video on an iPad. So using a portable device, so coaches and teams could have access to on-demand video replay. Teams also talked about how they need up-to-date statistics. So when you think about when you're getting statistics, if you're a coach on the bench, your option is the radio, but based on ambient sound in the arena, especially if you're talking about data, it might not be easy to hear. You can see what's on the Jumbotron, but depending on the building, you might not be able to view it. And even that information is limited. Or you have maybe notes in your paper from your jacket, but that is not up to date. It's static. So we worked with SAP and really a process that is focused on the user. So we wanted to add value to clubs. We wanted to add enhancements to how they make their decision making. And so working with this process, it was really sort of a blue sky initiative, got feedback from coaches, worked with the SAP designers and developers, built prototypes, did workshops, got more feedback, did one iteration, released it, more feedback. And now we're at the place where we offer a very robust feature set that includes 24/7 access, which was new this year, so they could do advanced scouting. And it also integrates player and puck tracking information. This is a huge initiative that the league has been working on for years, where in real time, you can see player location, puck location, player speed. And now at the fingertips in real time, with the ability to customize based on your personnel and your system, it allows coaches sort of added information. Because from the league standpoint, we wanted to make sure in game, all teams at least had the same baseline to work from. They had the same access to this type of data. What they choose to do with that data and how they examine it and how they build strategies off of that data, that's up to the team. That's their special sauce. But that access, we wanted to make sure that all teams had that initial ability to dissect and analyze through visualizations, real-time data.
And Brant, prior to working at the NHL, you were part of that original video iPad project, and even before that, were a Boston Bruins video coach. And so you, I think, more than anyone else here, have experienced that in-game strategy decision-making process. Just how frenetic, just so that people understand what the problem is, how frenetic is it, in between shifts, in between face-offs? What's it like in-game?
Well, I mean, my in-game experience was largely in the dark in front of a TV in some coaching room somewhere. But having been on benches other places, it's very chaotic. And just like a coach's life in general during the season, you have an idea, and if you don't have it at your fingertips, it often gets cast aside. And that's probably on its highest level of display during a game, right? You might have 10 seconds during a TV timeout to look at something. So what SAP has done in terms of gathering or listening to the feedback from us, they really understand that you toss off a lot of the traditional logic when it comes to software and even iOS usage, right? In this case, the least amount of time you can spend in the app, the better, right? You really need to be in it as short of a time as possible, but get as much out of it as you can. The feature, the head-to-head face-off feature, really shows how quickly you can get critical information for a game, because we gave SAP this sort of worst case scenario of a face-off after an icing, where your team can take advantage of the fact that the other team cannot make a line change. And so you have 15 seconds before the puck drops. You need to understand who's on the ice for the other team and can't get off, which players would be best to send out there against that team, and who should be taking the face-off, and even what side of the ice. The head-to-head face-off feature allows for that. And that was a pretty hardline approach by us to say to SAP, hey, this is really what we want to be able to accommodate. If teams so choose to use it, that's fantastic. If they don't, you're still going to be ready for any scenario they could possibly use it in.
Mm-hmm. And Dan, that's sort of a stress case you probably don't see in a lot of other businesses. But what was the iteration process like, and what was the approach from SAP to handle that problem? You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, appreciate that. But yeah, no, I think it's something that we see the story that and the journey we've gone on with the NHL. It's analogous to the rest of our customers, right? It's what is the problem? What are we trying to solve for? And what are the data points that we have to take into consideration? And so, I talked a little bit up front about the stats platform that we built for the fans, and that was a finite. And I mean, it grows incrementally year over year as stats start to build, right? But it's a finite set. It really was around how do we answer the queries that are being asked by the fans, right? And the computing power around that, right? Now it starts to turn into, the just enormous amounts of data that you have to ingest game over game over game, right? And especially as the player puck tracking comes online, right? You're talking, terabytes and terabytes of data coming in on a regular basis, right? So how do you ingest that? How do you organize that? And then make it available to coaches and players, right, for analysis. And so really it was kind of sitting with and especially taking into account, folks like Brent and a lot of the video coaches and people who are being asked these questions and have to deliver those answers in split second time, right? Working with them who truly understand what is in game, critical in game decisions that need to be made versus what are decisions that you want to analyze to help you develop a strategy, and then what do you need post game to help you kind of understand how your strategy played out, right? And so those were critical pieces for us to help develop how this application gets built and gets used, and so all those things factored into the platform that we built, and what we want to build too, right? I mean, we started this on our HANA Cloud platform a few years ago. Recently, we were migrated to the business technology platform that we just rolled out last year, and it had a lot of the features and functions that the NHL and their coaches were asking for. So it just made sense. Again, I go back to the story of, as our products develop and as they evolve, right, we're working with the NHL to make sure that they're on the latest and greatest versions of our software, and we can utilize them not only because it's delivering value to their players and coaches, but it gives us a referenceable story that we can go to our customers and say, look at how the NHL is using this, and look at the value that it's providing to them.
Mm-hmm. And if the user is at the heart of the story, which in this case is the coach, Brant, I think in a prior conversation, you once referred to the head coach's office as a deli counter. Explain what you mean by that, and then how the pandemic kind of allowed you to gain more access.
Yeah, that's a glamorous comparison I made. Well, it's true though. I mean, I did sit outside of a head coach's office, essentially, which is where my desk was located, and someone was it was distracting for me because the next person was waiting in line at the door next to my desk. And of course they want to chat. So I can only imagine what it's actually like having the perpetual cycle of someone always coming into the office. For coaches, it's about being able to grab 10 or 15 seconds, a minute, 30 seconds, wherever they are, to be able to get something done. And putting this much at their fingertips 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is critical. They could be at home watching a game at night, get an idea, and look it up. And the app is so smart in terms of how it in the future of it is really how we're going to be thinking about, remembering what the experience is for the user and what they were doing. And that way it crafts around what they generally do, and I think it's a very, it's a hectic world to be a coach, and someone is always coming in to talk to you next if you're the head coach. So being able to just get a few seconds here to look something up and have it really not direct you down a path, or you get lost, or you don't remember where you just were. The app is really intuitive in terms of being able to pick it up, find something, and get out of it.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, this latest version was built on input from all 31 teams that, because there was this unexpected hiatus in the middle of the season, you were able to do these kind of Zoom calls with everyone and get sort of this unexpected amount of time. How much, what was how unexpected was that access, and what kind of feedback did you receive from the coaches?
Yeah, so there's this period when the season went on pause in April and May of last year. It wasn't off season because teams were still playing, but it wasn't like the full on season where they're just at practice all day. And so they were engaged, and we were able to meet with all 31 coaching staffs on Zoom, just like this. And what was so beneficial is that in previous years, we had met with really one or two representatives from the team, usually the video coach. But in this case, we met with all different types of coaches. And with our sport, different coaches have different responsibilities and different areas of focus. So you can have in-game where one assistant coach is focused on the forwards and maybe the power play. And so they're tracking high-quality power play shots in-game, while another assistant coach who's only a few feet away, they're focused on the defenseman and maybe penalty kill metrics, and also trying to manage the time on ice of some of their key defensemen. So it was really understanding from a coach's perspective, but also just the different areas of focus and different roles and responsibilities. And even talked to goalie coaches, folks from analytics department, talked about some scouting. So to be able to get that perspective and then build an interface that is customizable, but also allows you access to just a wealth of data that fits your area of focus. And from those 31 Zoom calls, we were able to build our planning, and that's how we got to the latest version. Again, all of it was just based on the feedback from our users, because the league doesn't mandate that coaches have to use this application. We want them to use it. We want to be able to provide value so they feel compelled to use it.
Mm-hmm. One thing I could probably add is, there is this idea that the players are much more, not educated, that's the wrong word for it. They're much more aware of what's going on around the league. They always have watched games, but now statistically they know about other players, right? And for coaches, that's really important. So they've really moved beyond just getting ready for the next opponent and studying the next opponent or next couple of opponents. They really want to be able to go in and start looking around the league, because maybe there's something they can learn from another team's power play. And that sort of 24/7 access, along with the ability to look at other teams' full seasons of data and even game by game data, is really critical. And that's something that we learned. We definitely heard that in our meetings with the teams. It definitely supports that idea that these coaches now, you're always looking for something else to communicate to players beyond video, beyond, hey, here's another breakout, and it looks a lot like the breakout of the team we played the night before. You're now looking for little nuggets of information. Maybe one team in the league is particularly hot in the power play, and even though you're not playing that team, you want to tell your power play units about that stat, if it's about generating more shots from a certain area on the ice, things like that. So it's the fact that they now have this sort of wider focus on the league, data-wise, through this application, support the modern coaching styles and modern player awareness and sensibility and attention spans.
Yeah, I
And
think
is it,
sorry, guys. No, I was gonna say, just to follow up on that, Brand, I think that's what we're seeing across the board, right? That the younger players and the younger generations have grown up with this, right? You got your older players and some of the guys that aren't so, receptive to this, but by and large, every single young player coming into the league now, and every young player in any sport, they are used to measuring their performance every single day, every single time they step on the ice, whether we practice or a game or what have you. It's measured, and I look at that measurement against my past performance, and I want to see my improvement, right? And when a coach is explaining, they're trying to look at something. They need to be able to visualize what's being told to them, and so I think that's a critical piece to these types of technologies, right? And these types of applications that are showing and giving coaches the ability to make what they're saying tangible to the player.
yeah, and Dan, I was going to echo just that point, that some of the coaches told us stories about how when they have their one-on-one communication with players, some of the younger players, they're digital natives, very tech savvy, embrace statistics, that being able to show them a stat or to show them a visualization, that helps with the one-on-one communication. And they know that that certain player responds well to that. Some other players might not, but just knowing that one-on-one players and to enhance your coaching techniques by giving them this data, this was something that all the coaching staffs embraced.
You can, in this day and age, no longer have an ignorance towards the data that's out there. You can pick it apart. You can say what you like about it. And that's really what a coach should be doing. Here's what I like about this. Here's where I don't really care for this one. And that's good to have opinions on those things. And there are certain things that you will use more than you would use others. But you can't, at this point, say that data isn't useful. And you can't say that data analytics is such a bad word, a buzzword, dated, but like, you can't say that analytics aren't helpful, right? You just can't, because there's something in there that can help you, and everybody else around you now is using it. So it's really important. I think we're, along with the puck and player tracking data we have, we have player speed, and looking at player speed this year and asking coaches through the sessions how they would use player speed. We didn't get a lot of clear direction in terms of what they wanted out of it. They were interested in it. We're all interested in it, but without really getting into situational player speed, not even strength and how many players are on the ice, but moving from the corner or moving from the front of the net to the corner in your own end if you're a defenseman. That's sort of what we heard from coaches. They really want to know things like that. How fast can this penalty killer go from one side of the ice to the other? And that's what's coming. But the initial work we did on player speed was really just sort of an introductory fashion. SAP was great through that. The phrase that was uttered was, you don't want to innovate just for innovation's sake. So we didn't want to over-engineer a player speed feature. And we basically just took some basic data in and created some speed, some bands around time into shifts, and we created some numbers off of that. And now part of the off season here is going to be getting feedback from them on how useful that was, and how they think this is going to be helpful in the future. So there's so much coming down the pipe, and it's really about getting things out there and making it an iterative process with SAP.
And to sort of build on that idea of the varying viewpoints, I mean, I'm from what I hear, it's not even just coaching staff to coaching staff. There might be different opinions. It might be within the same bench. And so just, so how did you support that in this app? How customizable is it? The idea of one scoring chance for one coach might be different than another, for instance. What are some good examples of the personalization?
Yeah, I think scoring chances, that was when we heard from teams. Traditional scoring chance is the sort of home plate right in front of the net. But different teams, like if they have defensemen that like to take sort of long shots, you'd extend that point for them. And then what we could do with SAP is that for each team, they could customize their scoring chance based on simply the shape and the geometry. But then all of the data would recalculate based on that one change. So you could have 6 different metrics based on scoring chances, all based on the system and the shape that the team prefers. And it's just sort of these sort of real-time calculations and customizations is this powerful database, and the ability to do that on the fly is really what SAP has brought to the table for us. And it's a type of technology that we wouldn't have been able to expand on if we didn't have the cornerstone working with SAP.
Joe, I can say that you're 100% right. Within staff, scoring chances are a tenuous topic, and the ability to actually allow the stuff that Chris just mentioned, the customizable areas for scoring chances, it's to the user. It's not even to just to the team. So different users could have different scoring chance area designations, and I can tell you that the most tenuous arguments I heard in coaching rooms were about scoring chances and what was or was not a scoring chance. I saw many people leave a room, saw some things thrown. And so this is something that hopefully will remedy some of those arguments.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see a baseball game with different shapes of home plates if it's customizable. Anyway, I know we only have a few more minutes here, but when we spoke earlier, Brant, for a story I wrote about this, I know you talked about how unique the virtual replay experience was, and that's built on the puck and player tracking data. What do you see as some of the highlights of having that very clean, stripped down version of gameplay?
Well, when you watch your own team and it's February, coaches, I think, have certainly developed relationships with players and things they like about players and things they don't like about players. And a lot of times, you have a small thing about the way a player carries their stick, or you've discussed even to the minutia of the way a player tapes their stick, or the type of a blade they use. So when you reduce the players to just these little dots with numbers on them, it's amazing how you don't notice those things. And you can really start to actually focus on the tactical view of the game. And that's one side of it. The ability to see the whole ice in sort of a digestible fashion. So if you imagine my camera here being the iPad screen, the rink just really kind of goes across and takes up the majority of the screen. So you're actually able to see the full ice surface. You're able to see the movement away from the play. And when you watch an NHL game, even on half speed, because full speed doesn't really – it's very hard to process the full ice at full speed. Watching it at half speed gives you a little bit more of ability to see the players moving away from the play and how smart the players are and how something may actually be a set play as to maybe just a reactionary play. I think having a view even beyond video that shows the location of the players in movement along with the puck is really going to change. It's really going to add to the way we watch games as coaches and potentially even fans.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're down to our final little bit here. So Dan, final word over to you. What are some of what's like the highest level takeaway that you learned from this and that you hope to continue building on going forward?
Well, I think for us, it's the commitment all the way around, right? It's the commitment of the league that they were trying to develop something that could be utilized by every single team in the league. The commitment of the coaches that were involved in helping us develop the application, and the commitment of the folks here at SAP and at Apple and the other groups that we've worked with to build the application. I think everybody was committed to building something that was going to be valuable, because again, I think I can't remember who said about it. It was very, very clear at the beginning of this project that we're not just going to do this for innovation's sake, just so SAP can have a great story and be happy. We weren't doing this to make the sponsor happy. We were doing this because the NHL saw a problem and saw an opportunity to provide their teams with something that was going to help them make the game better. And so I think that for us is kind of the exactly what we are trying to do with our sponsor partners, is do what we would do with any other customer that we have, any of our 2,700 other customers around the world, right? Is there's a business problem, we're going to solve it, we're going to provide value to you, and it's going to make your product better. and so we were able to demonstrate that beautifully with the work that we've done with the NHL and their coaches.
Perfect. Well, the only thing faster than a hockey shift has been the pace of hockey free agency over these first 2 hours. So those of you in the league, I'll let you get back to it. Everyone in the audience, thank you so very much for your attention and time, and have a wonderful rest of your Horizon Summit.